Episode number 792. Has anyone ever tried to bribe you?
You're listening to the official BNI podcast with BNI founder and Chief Visionary Officer, Dr. Ivan Misner. Stay tuned for networking and referral marketing tips from the man who's been called the father of modern networking, along with suggestions and insights into getting the most from your membership in the world's largest networking organization, BNI.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the official BNI podcast. I'm Priscilla Rice, and I'm coming to you from Live Oak Recording Studio in Berkeley, California, and I'm joined on the phone today by the founder and the Chief Visionary Officer of BNI, Dr. Ivan Misner. Hello, Ivan. How are you, and where are you?
I am doing great, and this week I am near Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, doing a BNI event and attending another Transformational Leadership Council event. TLC was the organization started by Jack Canfield, who's become a really good friend over the years. As you pointed out before we went on air, Priscilla, TLC goes to some of the coolest places, and that is true.
That is so true.
So I have an interesting topic today. It's Has anyone ever tried to bribe you is the title. And the reason that I decided to do this is a good friend of mine, a BNI director, recently asked me if there have been times where it was difficult for me to live my values. She and I were having a conversation about values, and she asked me, have there ever been times where it's difficult to live my values? And I told her that there were many times where my values were challenged, but that I have strived to always be true to the values that I have throughout my life. Probably one of the first times this happened, and I'm going to tell this story, and then I'm going to connect it back for all of you to think about something. Having heard this story I'm about to tell you, one of the first times something like this happened to me, I was over 40 years ago. I was working as the general manager for a light manufacturing company in Los Angeles, which, by the way, almost no one knows. I rarely share that I was the general manager for this light manufacturing company in LA. And this was before I was a management consultant, before I started BNI. The owner wanted me to use her real estate agent to find a new location for the business that I was the manager of, that she owned. She was the co-owner. And the real estate agent tried to get me to recommend a specific property that he represented. It was a really large commercial property, and it was valued in the millions. And this was years ago. And I wasn't keen on the property for a number of reasons. I didn't think it fit what the business needed, and I told him so. I told him that. As a result, he offered me almost 1/3 of my entire annual salary if I recommended it to the owner and she bought the property.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not only did I not recommend it, I told the owner about the attempted bribe. Well, ironically, she didn't believe me because she knew this guy for some time and she considered him her friend. And I mean, she basically was like, no, you must have misunderstood him. Like, really? How do you misunderstand? Do you want $10,000? I was making $35,000 then. You want I'll give you $10,000 if you recommend this property, and she buys it. How do you misunderstand something? That's a bribe.
Yeah.
That's just 40 years ago. 10,000. Wow. That was huge.
Yeah.
Then soon after that, something else happened in working with her. And I decided that this was not the kind of person that I wanted to work for. And I went out and started my own consulting company. Literally left that company. There's another great story that I should tell someday, that I had a Twilight Zone experience with this person. And after that Twilight Zone experience, I left that company and I started my own consulting company. And that consulting business eventually led me, as most people know, to starting BNI. So in a way, an attempted bribe worth many thousands of dollars set in motion a series of circumstances that allowed me to help hundreds of thousands of people over the last 4 decades. So that by turning down that bribe and leaving that company, I ended up starting a business that's helped business people around the world generate over $100 billion US dollars worth of business for themselves since I began BNI. Words have power, and I strongly believe that. And at the same time, the older I get, the less I believe in words and the more I believe in behaviors. Behaviors stem from your values. I think most regrets that people have come from situations where they didn't live their values or didn't live the values that they would later come to hold. And this is why I think it's important for all of us to think about our personal values. What are they? And why are they important to us? I talk about that in Who's in Your Room, and I've got a second edition of Who's in Your Room coming out real soon. I talk about it definitely in the second edition. And when you live those values on a daily basis, you rarely have regrets in your life. I believe that if you live your values, you live a life of abundance. And that's the way I prefer to live my life. That short-term bribe would not have led to the long-term impact that I've been able to have in the world. And I'm glad I didn't take it.
Mhm. That's great. I love that story. The real estate industry is kind of full of that, massaging your palm, so to speak, you
Yeah,
know?
it might be. I know people give finder's fees,
Uh-huh.
and finder's fees. I don't know the ethics of it in the real estate business. I do know that if one real estate agent refers another real estate agent, it's completely, I
Legit.
believe,
Oh,
completely
yeah.
legitimate and ethical to do, and
Right.
that's fine.
Exactly.
I think if a party refers somebody and the real estate agent wants to give them a spiff or a royalty or some kind of gift, I think I'm not the expert. Real estate agents, feel free to chime in. Don't beat me up. I don't know the answer. I think it's okay, but here's where it wasn't okay, and clearly not okay in this situation. There was a conflict of interest.
Mhm.
My job, I was being paid to find the best location for the company. So to try to bribe me to pick a location that he particularly wanted me to pick, and I think the reason he wanted me to pick it was he was the listing agent and the selling agent, and so
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, right.
he got a greater commission, and so he
Right.
preferred that I pick that one over some of the others that he showed me. And so, because where he, in my mind, clearly crossed the ethical line was that there was a conflict of interest in him giving money to me to pick something.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
it's a referral, I don't think that's an ethical breach. I could be wrong, and please feel free, without slamming me, to to share here in the podcast if you're a real estate agent as to what the ethics are. And my guess is they may vary from state to state and may vary from country to country. But for me, there was no doubt about it. It was an ethical breach for him to be uh, offering me money to do it. And it wasn't the first time. It was probably 9 years earlier was the first time someone tried to bribe me. It was I was a student body president. I hadn't planned on telling this story. I was student body president,
Uh-huh.
and there are big ring companies. There's only a couple of big companies that do class rings,
Uh-huh.
and it was my job to pick the company that would do the class rings for all the students. And one of the big class ring companies said to me, "Look, if you pick my company, I'll give you a free ring of your choice. You pick the ring you want." And I was like, You're trying to bribe me?" He's like, "No, no, no, no. It's just a thank you for." Like, yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I immediately went to the student counselor who handled student government. I said, "Hey, look, this guy just tried to bribe me with a free ring." The truth is, I probably wouldn't pick their company anyway, but that was like a deal killer for me.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh my goodness, thank you for telling me." And I picked the other company. And so, I mean, that was the first time someone tried to bribe me. And even, a high school kid, those rings were they're gold. They were worth hundreds of dollars way back then.
Right.
So, I'm just glad that throughout my life, I've tried to live my values. And I think that if you remember and you're listening to this, Look, forgive yourself for whatever you've done or not done. From this moment forward, draw a line in the sand as to what's acceptable to you and not acceptable. Get good with your values, know what they are. And if you live those values, and those are healthy values, and they're values that don't hurt other people, then you're not going to have regrets in your life. And I certainly don't have regrets on the values I've lived. That's my message for today, Priscilla.
Yeah, perfect. Great message. Well, thank you so much. I think that's it for this week. This podcast is sponsored by MisnerAudioprograms.com. These audio programs will provide you with the tools and the inspiration to powerfully enhance your BNI experience. So check out the great material that's available to you at MisnerAudioprograms.com. And then use the promo code IVAN50 for 50% off of everything. All of the proceeds go to the BNI Foundation. Thanks so much for listening. This is Priscilla Rice, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for another exciting episode of the official BNI podcast.